Hi, my name is Mzwandile Masina, the Executive Mayor of the City of Ekurhuleni. You are watching Joburg Today.
Just Peachy is how life should be, but it's not always the case. For Kim Grant-Smith, she made sure her son's health was a priority. And in doing so, she's now running a successful health business called Just Peachy. Here is her story.
All success stories begin somewhere. For Kim, it started right at home with her family.
Sure, it started in probably about 2012. We were a normal, average family. Karen was born, and probably around about between 5 and 9 months of age, he started with his allergies, and we couldn't figure out what allergies he was having. We had numerous blood tests done, we had skin prick tests done. The doctors thought he had asthma, so we went to a pulmonologist, and nobody could actually put their finger on what was wrong. And we went into a homeopath, and we did a food diary for almost 2 years. We did a food diary. And we started picking up that he has reactions to certain foods, but then again, not to the same food again. So we started picking up that it's actually the additives, the colorants, the preservatives, everything that they've added extra to the food. So he'd react to a dried piece of apple, but not a fresh piece of apple. So it was hell, because we were like, okay, eliminate this, then that would not give us allergies. And then we decided, well, he loved dried fruit, absolutely loved dried fruits and nuts. And then we decided, well, if he can't eat the products out the shop, then we'll make it. So we bought little dehydrators, and we started drying our own dried fruit for him, and like vegetable chips, and making little snacks and stuff for him. And then a friend of ours saw he came to visit us, and he saw all these jars full of dried fruit, and he was like, what's happening here? And he's actually got a health shop, so he was like, no, there's a gap in the market for what you're doing. So he was like, just put whatever you have, just come and stock my shop, nothing serious, no plan on doing anything with it.
Well, that's when the magic happened, and Just Peachy took off as orders came flying through the door. Today, Kim has a little factory going and plans to move out into a bigger space.
So we're in most health shops, spas. We're busy listing our products with Dis-Chem, and we're in some pick and pays as well.
But like most entrepreneurs, she needed a little help.
I mean, I have learned so much being around other entrepreneurs, because some of them have been in the space where I've been, startups, some of them haven't, and it's like a feeding frenzy, because we just learn from each other. When we get together, it's like, hey guys, I'm sitting with this, what is this problem, And the Branson Center of Entrepreneurship's really been amazing. There's been some international investors and international entrepreneurs that come through there on a monthly basis, and they just give you a call and say, would you like to come and be a part of it? And 99% of the time I say yes.
I think this is such an incredible story of a mom who created this amazing business out of a sheer desire to improve her son's health and wellness. And look at where you are today. I think it's very inspiring.
Thank you.
It just goes to show that this is what entrepreneurship is all about. You have a problem and you find a solution, and you help others as well.
Absolutely.
So tell us what you're preparing today.
Today we're preparing chocolate Rice Krispie bars. They're one of my son's favorites, and they're normal, wholesome ingredients with a bit of a superfood powder sneaked into them. The reason why we sneak in superfood powders is because they're superfoods, they're good for you. So you can take normal ingredients and just put in, we're using maca powder today. You can use acai berry, you can use a spirulina, you can use any superfood and just sneak them in. You can use chia seeds, anything. So we got a tablespoon of almond butter. You can use any butter. We don't use peanuts. My son's okay with these nuts, but you can use peanut butter if they're not okay with almonds. You can use any nut butter. We're using cocoa powder, a tablespoon of honey, butter. You can also use a vegan butter if your kids are allergic to dairy. We've used raisins, so our raisins are organic. Those are the Just Peachy raisins, and then normal Rice Krispies that have got no preservatives or anything. These are gluten-free, sugar-free Rice Krispies that we've bought at a health shop, and then we've got the maca powder.
Then you just throw everything together, mix it, set it in the tray, and place it in the fridge.
So there you have the final product. Good for snacks, lunch boxes, or anything for the kids after school or anything.
Okay, so now I get to do the honors of tasting the final product. I have to do that, but if I didn't say it was delicious, I'd be lying. It's absolutely delicious. Well done. Thank you very much.
Pleasure.
Nashina Mohammed for Joburg Today.
My name is Chef Martin and you're watching Joburg Today.
Like us on Facebook, joburgtoday.tv, and follow us on Twitter at Joburg Today. South Africa's Minister of Trade and Industry, Rob Davies, launched a one-stop shop to support intra-African trade and intra-Africa investment in 2016. The aim is to support South African businesses trading in the rest of Africa. Minister Davies said the rest of Africa presents great opportunities for South African companies. He further urged South African companies to invest in other African countries. In fact, Gauteng's Premier David Makura also pointed out that for the economy to expand, in his words, the cameras must face the rest of the continent. Well, here's an interesting discussion I had with Dylan Piatti of the Deloitte Group on intra-African trade. Dylan, welcome to the show. Great to have you. The conversation we're having today is about improving intra-regional trade, that is intra-African trade. We know that the numbers are still not encouraging, but slightly up. This new platform that was launched by African, do you think this is a good way to support improving those trade numbers?
Absolutely. I think any concept that is aimed at promoting trade within the continent is a positive step forward. I mean, the concept of the Buy African is Buy African, Produce African, and Wear African. And I think that is promoting this mindset change of selecting African products ahead of perhaps international products.
And we're seeing pockets of these platforms take place all across the continent, by Kenya, by South African, etc. It kind of feeds into the whole larger concept of supporting African-made products. But what needs to happen on the ground? Because it's certainly the Buy African platform is not a new concept. It feeds into all the other concepts around supporting African trade. What needs to happen on the ground to make this a reality?
So there's the in-country promotion, which you mentioned we are seeing, and that's important. I think that's part of all these different nodes starting to kind of fit together and evolve towards this one big concept of Buy African. But from a more macro level, it's important that we work on our multilateralism, our interregional trade and our continental trade. If we can promote our African products from Kenya to South Africa, South Africa to Kenya, Ghana to Uganda, etc., and create export-import opportunities with African products, we're going to create not only value-added opportunities downstream, but also upstream. And that is only going to have a positive impact on Africa's economic development.
It certainly makes sense from that perspective and would no doubt boost entrepreneurship as well, which I would say is pivotal for the economy of Africa to grow at large.
Certainly. I think this is going to be has significant opportunity for entrepreneurship. We know about the African dividend and the window of opportunity, but the importance is around creating economic opportunities for that youth base that is now emerging. They say by 2040 we're going to have a larger youth population or working population than China and India. But can we have that population economically active? And that is important. I think this is a great opportunity to perhaps start from the grassroots up and develop entrepreneurs throughout Africa.
From a consumer perspective, what needs to happen to create that shift in buying behavior? Because from a consumer perspective, it's all about the brand, right? Certain products just appeal more to consumers, and it makes sense to import those brands, because what we are talking about is importing less from other continents and buying more from Africa.
Yeah. So we are talking about a mindset change, a paradigm shift in the way that we engage with products and brands. So this historical or legacy of European or Western products having superior quality to local products is going to need to change. And that's going to take time as we are demonstrating to our local consumers that African products are of similar quality.
Consumers will have to be convinced.
Exactly. And that also takes, we've got a role to play as entrepreneurs on the continent, whoever is producing the goods, to produce them at the highest quality.
Sure.
Because they are representing the continent. That's the only way that we're going to really compete with the rest of the world.
I want to come back to developing entrepreneurship growth in Africa. This is really important if we want to improve trade and if we want to spur innovation and get Africans to really, work hard and to compete within the continent itself. What do you make of what is being done to support that growth? If we have to look at South Africa in particular, this is a big business economy.
So I think there is a lot of intent and support from a government level, and that we're seeing that across the continent. How it is manifest is the challenge. So we're talking about a lot of economies. We're talking about the digital economy, for example, and e-commerce. E-commerce in South Africa, as an example, is growing upwards of 20% year on year. On the rest of the continent, on the continent as a whole, we're looking at approximately around 40% year on year. Now, this is obviously of a small base, but what that means through e-commerce is opening up of new market opportunities, and that is opportunities that exist also beyond the continent. So how do we take an African product and sell it to the rest of the world? And I think there's huge opportunity for that. And traditionally, perhaps we weren't thinking in that manner. I've just been at a session in Luxembourg with tech entrepreneurs from around the world. And the capability to think on a larger scale, or big thinking, is significant. And I think that's because they are used to having access to a large consumer market. And a market that is not just by, when I say large in terms of number, but in terms of actual purchasing power.
Yeah.
So if we are still developing the purchasing power on the continent, as we talk about this, emerging middle class, yet the middle class is categorized as between $4 to $20 earnings per day. When that starts increasing, and we're going to see that in 10, 15 years' time, then we're going to really see the opportunity to reap the benefits of entrepreneurship on the continent and local production.
Sure.
But we have to gear for that now. We have to start preparing for that now in order to see the results in 15 years, 20 years' time.
Well, certainly a lot of work to be done. Thank you so much for your time.
Pleasure. Thank you for having me.
How's it? This is Dominic Oliver, and you're watching Joburg Today.
And that brings us to the end of this Monday show. But for more coverage on the city, do check out our playlist. And that's it from me, Nashina. Have a great week.